Don't worry about the massive Xeon prisoner. Sayla can take care of him. Well, thank God this guy isn't like sabotaging the ship like I mentioned with the TNG episode. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Stoneface Reactions. I'm Theta, this is Lessons, and we are here with another episode of Mobile Suit Gundam, the OG. We've been doing thoughts here on in, so why don't you go ahead and tell me your thoughts?
Well, things are getting interesting. On one hand, I mentioned before that it seems that the show is kind of slowing down a little bit, right? Focusing more on the personal thing, also shifting away from, always being Amuro, and now we have the stuff with Sayla, which, to be perfectly honest, I wish we'd seen earlier, because now it's like, oh, hey, remember that character? Yeah, she has her stuff going on. I was like, okay, cool, I guess. Which seeing that I know what's going to happen, I can't talk more about that. But still, it'd been then, I don't know, like if you don't have to do whatever every episode, and I get that the first episodes were basically set up like, oh, this is we have to continually be running all that, and also it kind of feels like they want to keep Char in the picture even though Char is not there, right? Because we have Sayla talking about Char, trying to find out what Char is doing, but Char is somewhere else, right?
I mean, I can
What
get
would?
rid of one of my thoughts right off the bat here.
Mhm.
Beyond an appearance at the end of an episode, it's been 5 episodes since we've last seen Char, and then he was getting chatted up by a Cassilia agent, so completely up into the air as to what he's up to now.
Yeah. So it feels like the story is getting a little bit into the molasses of the thing. It's like, okay, now we got to figure. We had a good idea in the beginning, good run. This is where we're going. We're escaping, but now we're on Earth. I mean, we could just say that they should end up in Jabura or wherever and just get it done, but that would be too quick.
Well, they have a
So
mission right
now
now to do something
they have a
else.
mission. Yeah, but
Also,
that mission
more
feels.
more poignantly, who even still uses molasses?
It's just an expression.
I've never used molasses in my life. The only reason I even know molasses, I think, is from have you ever read My Side of the Mountain?
No.
Oh, My Side of the Mountain, settler settling on the Indian side of a mountain range, essentially, and his family
Yeah.
leaves him behind, and he's like a kid, and he gets into problems where this Indian kid helps him out with, and I think like one of his treats is that he has sweet molasses, but he also uses it to explain like southernisms. As slow as molasses in the winter, that sort of thing. I've never even seen molasses. My point is, why is it a thing we all still use? Have you seen molasses? You ever eaten molasses?
No, I seen it. I saw it in Michigan. But it's a more of a thing from cartoons when I was young,
See,
growing
that's
up.
what I'm
I
saying.
was like,
It's
yeah,
separated
yeah,
from us by time. It is the same separation that Vegemite is as to distance, right?
yeah.
It's like, what? Why do we all still use molasses as a thing? We all know it's slow. I don't think we have any concept of what it tastes like.
No, I haven't tasted it. No.
Molasses.
Yeah. Anyway, it's slowing down. That's the point I wanted to make. And it feels like, oh yeah, well now you get this other mission. Like I'm trying to figure it out. Maybe it's the writer in me trying to figure out what is the writer's plan, because it feels like they were planned out, and then it's like, we gotta buy some time maybe, because if we just finish the series now, seems too early. I don't know. Like, oh, let's get it. Oh yeah, we're gonna go and do the thing. Meet up with the Earth Resistance slash Federation forces and kick ass. It's like, oh, that seems a little too early in the show, right? Other things need to happen, but I guess they're giving time for those things to set up, but we're not seeing them, so eh, I don't know.
I mean, look, it's the first Gundam show. I'm
Mhm.
gonna give it the same amount of slack as I give SDF Macross, right?
True, true.
Plus, the writer has a what's the word I'm looking for here? The writer has a I can't think of the word. It's a word that represents collection of work, a body of work, that has been pretty well received before this. You know, the romance trilogy of super robot genre. Voltes 5 is part of it, but I can't remember the other two. So they've done good. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe there's also the element of who else has their fingers in the pie.
Mm-hmm.
Vis-a-vis episode 15 and I would say North Korean, the South Korean animation team.
Yeah. No, the work camp animation team. Yes.
Look, I have no doubt that such a thing does exist, given the kaiju movies that come out of North Korea. There's clearly some sort of teams going on there to make,
Yeah.
God, the brain wants to delve into material that I know I'm just going to cut out later, so I'm going to just stop there.
Yeah.
I mean, do you have any other thoughts, though, beyond the slowness and not knowing what the writer's doing?
That's basically it.
All right. Well, of course, I have all these written out thoughts, and these do actually come from last time again, but these are the last time because obviously I have not seen any. Well, you can say I can't see any. In the watch through, I have not seen anything from today forwards except for one episode, and I'll share with you because you've already seen all of Gundam, where Amuro meets Char for the first time, like on some sort of colony, and Lala is there. But I've only seen like literally that, like Amuro walking up to Lala at the front of like a cabin or something. It looks like, and them
Yeah.
having an existential conversation, and that's it. I have not seen anything else of Mobile Suit Gundam. Well, I have seen one other thing, but I'll share that with you off screen because I don't want to say that out loud because that might be a thing. So, but yeah, I also haven't like gone through these notes, so some of them might refer to stuff that doesn't make any sense, and I'll just preface that ahead of time.
Yeah.
Back in episode 9, mind you, which is the episode that just released on YouTube by the time we record this. No longer true. It was true back then, not true now. I made a joke about the Falmer, again, I guess previous time. I made a joke about the Falmer being up in space, and at minimum, someone should be on the telescope watching where White Base goes. And last episode, we saw White Base have a viewing deck with telescopes mounted to the wall for people to keep track of things. Something I harp on about a lot is that when you have space superiority, the least you should be able to do is keep a track of things. And now that we see that the White Base has just a whole viewing deck of binoculars and telescopes.
I mean, that's because of Minkowski particles, right? Radar and sonar and all that laser detection is limited. So,
Yeah, so no excuse. No excuse from anybody.
I mean, I contend that they don't have space superiority, but
I contend that they do, and that they're up there all the fucking time, and no one's harassing them.
no, we haven't seen that.
Yeah. You'd think that if they would go away, that would be impetus to say, oh, they must have gotten harassed and went away. But they're always there. Like, we need to come back. We need to go down. We need to come back up again. Thank God the Falmer is always there.
Is the farmer always there?
Well, it's not
Was
there
the last
now,
time we saw?
obviously.
Yeah.
But my point being back then, back when what this comment is referring to, not this comment made by me is referring to. Back when Char was still in the game, the Falmer was always there. Obviously, it's not there now because Char isn't there now, and obviously the Falmer isn't going to be there if Operation V is no longer a go. Well, assuming Operation V is no longer a go, we have no indication that Dozel is no longer pushing for Operation V just because Char is no longer on site. Then again,
Mhm.
Dozel might be then distracted by the fact that Garma's dead to not be as concerned about Operation V. Seems he's like family man first, general second. Making the Gundam on the fly seems like such a niche use of the thing when I think about it. It requires Amuro to already be off White Base in a core fighter, and then for someone else to launch in a gun parry in order to drop the Gundam halves on top of him. It would seem like it would just be simpler to have Amuro return to the white base and just reassemble there. Even in combat, they've done it before. We've also seen gun parries being a pretty ineffectual in a fight, so that's just a major risk for whoever you got to pilot it out there. Pilots that would be better served piloting one of the other core fighters. I just feel like we are doing a lot for so little, which at least Bright recognizes later in the episode.
Yeah, but I think it's also a carryover from super robot stuff, right? Because while Gundam is supposed to be the first real robot show, I consider that it has a lot of transitional elements like that. The gun parry dropping the pieces and doing the whole, oh, let's connect the pieces, stuff like that. Hey, that is more of the super robot genre, right? Where you have your robot. Oh, I'm gonna jump and I'm gonna get the new adaptation. It's like, oh, now I have the new power, kind of thing. Massinger. That was the whole thing about Massinger Z. That every episodes, it was like, oh, we need the Massinger to fly. We're gonna build these giant wings. So that starts running and jumping and gets the wings. It needs to go underwater. Okay, we're gonna put some underwater rockets on the foot so it can swim underwater, right? The whole thing with Voltron, assembling Voltron to pieces. That was the big piece of it. So I think it's a carryover for that. But in this show, ironically, it proves in this show that it's kind of dumb, right? It's much safer to go back to White Base, which has guns and missiles and can protect the core fighter and it can launch safely, than trying to launch it clearly a very vulnerable aircraft.
I mean, I understand it's to sell toys.
Yeah.
We decided to make the Gundam 3 pieces. We better give the kids something to do with those 3 pieces, or show them how the toy is supposed to be played with.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's dumb. And like I said, at the very end, at least Bright recognizes that it's dumb. How did Doan take down and capture the Federation aircraft in the first place? What were those 2 guys doing that Doan had enough time to run to his waterfall, get into Zaku, and then what? Did the mobile suit martial artist shoot them down, throw a rock at them like he did with Amuro's missile? Does everyone just come at this guy straight on? Then he beat them near to death, tied them up, and left them in their plane so they could signal for help anyways, despite the fact he's trying to avoid being found? Hell, why did he leave those 2 to die and then save Amuro? Is it because Amuro is a kid himself? The whole setup for the episode just doesn't make much sense.
Yeah. I at first thought that what happened was that they had an accident and they crashed, not that they had a fight.
Literally, that was my coming up thought of, oh, maybe it was this, and I'll say it after you're done your piece. It's like, oh, you're saying it now, too. Because otherwise, that is very coincidental. Oh no, we wrecked on the island that the guy with the mobile suit's hiding on.
Yeah, and then were the kids the ones who tied them up? But that would make the kids kind of, murderers.
Well, they were throwing firebombs and,
rocks.
It was slinging rocks at Amuro.
Yeah.
Very clearly could have killed Amuro too, but then if they were willing to go that far with Amuro, why would they tie them up and then put them back, or
keep them in the aircraft if they crash and they found them that way?
I don't know, because the way they're tied up seems also weird, because they didn't tie them to the seats. They tied them up themselves.
Yeah.
Which means that the kids climbed in, pulled in a bunch of rope, giving them what had to have been a multi-kid operation to tie up one guy. Yeah. And then why would they just set them on fire? Because they were clearly throwing fire at things. It seems more likely his kids would have just kept throwing fireballs at the plane.
And also, both pilots apparently died as well from their wounds. So,
well, not to have been helped by being jerked around by Amuro trying to save them.
Yeah, I mean, he did his best, but
I'm not blaming him for it. I'm just saying, obviously, when you put down.
Yeah, I mean, the whole episode I said before is that they're trying very hard for that sort of soldier who wants to leave fighting because he realizes that what he's doing is disruptive and destructive. But it's so clunky. It's like, okay, we need to get Amuro to this island. Okay, well, there's a beeper thing. But we don't want these characters to show up later, so we're gonna have to kill them so they die from their wounds. We want the kids to, be there and do something. Oh, let's give them, sticks set on fire and rocks and slings. But they're not using guns, so I guess they're not that deadly.
Well,
And
because
then
without the kids, you don't have the impetus to go further into the island or whatever, right?
yeah,
So literally, if it would be just Amuro lands, finds 2 pilots, saves them, and then
yeah,
leaves.
leaves. So the kids are there. So, but then of course he's an adult with a gun. So then this guy has to show up with the Saku, and it's like I can't let you leave. And the core fighter, it's a whole thing that could have been much better written. It could have been
Well, it
easily be
is
more.
apparently, because again, there was enough there that they thought they could make a movie out of it. So
Yeah, it's much easier if just the white base just goes and tries to find a place to land, right? Oh, we need fresh water or something. They land there, right? Or they send Amuro to scout the island.
I guess the
There are no
problem
air.
therein is that if you bring the white base in, he is going to attack the white base.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't want to be found, so he can't let the white base show up. However,
Or
that
they
might
send
also be a better movie, because then that would just be Doan Rambo, right? He Rambos his way through white base, because he's not going to take it on with one Zaku. Clearly, he's going to sneak aboard and try and sabotage this thing so it can't get away. First, make sure it can't communicate. It would be, what's the one episode you've watched TNG, so I know you know this one.
Yeah.
The planet or the planet that has the moon base of criminals that they had created for the war, and one
Yeah,
of them's
the
getting
super
away.
soldier.
Yeah,
Super
and he's
soldiers,
running
yeah.
he's running Ripshot through the Enterprise, like
Yeah.
sabotaging shit and like leaving false trails and everything. That episode of Mobile Suit Gundam would have been fucking amazing. I would be 100% on board for Doan doing that all across a white base.
Without actually killing people, right?
Yeah,
Like
well,
he's
that
supposed to
guy didn't kill
disable them.
people either, the TNG
Yeah,
guy.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
just
Um
using his knowledge. I guess he wouldn't have like well, the other guy was from a completely different technology base too, and he was able to do that. Still, would have been amazing, and I would have less questions. Less questions because the show would have been so awesome.
or even make it more simpler, they're looking for a place. They send Amuro to scout. This guy spots Amuro and he shuts down Amuro with a rock or something, right? And that's when you have the whole impetus about
Or
saving Amuro, bring him in, and
reverse the whole order of operations on the Xeon guy showing up. The Xeon guys show up while Amuro's scouting. They rare Xeon win, shoot him out of the air. He crash
yeah,
lands on the island, and that's how he finds Doan. The whole so the only example that's coming to my head is Return to the Island that Time Forgot. Nope, that's different. Sorry, there is a sequel to a movie I can't remember the name of where they go back to an island and they find Captain Nemo. This is like 80s, 70s movie.
yeah, okay.
But the idea that you just randomly find the guy on the island. Anyway, on to the next thought. Also, we know that the Xeon troops were ordered to kill those kids, so kind of stupid of the kids to come out of the woods hurling rocks at the first pilot to land, especially one who already has a gun out and aimed at them. Yes, I am judging the kids' actions. I don't care how old they are. Sorry, this follows through on a long line of me getting shit on for blaming kids for doing kid stuff. I don't care how old they are. They can die just like anyone else can, and if your whole point of staying on the island is to protect the kids from getting killed, then they should have known better.
I mean, the one line of defense I would say it's. I don't think did they know that he was ordered to kill them. I don't know if they did.
Well, he knows
About
that he was ordered to kill them, so
did he tell them that?
that's on him then.
Why would he tell them that? Oh yes, trust me, I'm the one who killed your parents. Please, kids, come
Well,
with
no,
me.
no, he doesn't have to tell them that. He has to imply to them that they need to stay hidden away from anybody that lands, because he's trying to protect them. It's his fault if he doesn't teach them the means to survive.
Well, yeah, that's a much better point because them knowing that he killed their parents is like, oh, by the way, yes, we love you very much, and you're now your adopted daddy. It's like,
Well, I think there was
okay,
a longer conversation. I don't know if it comes up in here. I didn't actually pre-read all these notes because I've written them a long time ago. But there was a longer conversation about the fact that not only was he ordered to kill the kids, but other Sion officers are coming here and targeting the kids. So obviously, the
I
fucking
think they're
evil
targeting him
Zeons.
though.
Well, I don't know. I don't know. They're literally targeting anything. So,
Yeah.
also, why would you even come out here? But my point is that these kids rush out and just, like, ineffectually attack anyone. And it's like giving yourself away. And it's like, if it's not their fault, then it's Doan's fault. But either
I don't think
way,
Doan's home.
well, I'm going to
Definitely.
blame the kids because I fucking hate the kids too.
Come on.
Come on, what? The
Why?
kids rush out of the woods to start throwing rocks and firebombs at you, and you've done nothing wrong. And you're
Mm.
holding a gun at them. There's going to be some part of you that's like, just one pull. One pull, and this will all be over. I don't know these kids. They're not my kids. This is why I didn't come back from Vietnam. A lot of us didn't, man. Funny note, but last recording. Again, these are from a previous thing. Just a reminder. But last recording, we discussed the conservation of names in a narrative regarding the fact that the name Gial had been dropped twice for a Zeon soldier, and we regarded them to be the same person. Well, last time we got our second name drop for Tachi, except the Tachi we already know is a Zeon intelligence officer, and this new Tachi is just a kid that Doan is protecting.
The thing.
In defense of Doan, though, how many shots of a horrible battle have we gotten in Gundam with a crying child holding on to the remains of their life just standing amidst the rubble? Doan is the one guy we've seen in all of those shots that stopped what he was doing to help the kid. According to Stan Lee, that basically makes Doan a superhero.
Doing the right thing.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever had a
Even
conversation before. Stan Lee had the show Who Wants to Be a Superhero, which I
yeah.
think is actually technically Sci-Fi Channel had a show called
Yeah.
with had
Yes.
Stan Lee on it. And I always remember the one test that they had was about changing into their costumes in public and getting to a crime or a scene of something as fast as they can. And the real test was actually that there was a crying child in the middle or in the space between where they were supposed to have changed and the thing they were supposed to get to. So the real test was who stops to help a crying kid rather than accomplish the task that's ahead of them.
Yeah.
So that's why I said, according to Stan Lee, that basically makes him a superhero.
I mean, you take care of the vulnerable and there's no small, how can I say, and in Stanley's view is there's no small problems, right?
Oh, I'm not shitting on it. I mean, obviously, it's literally it's a kid crying for their mother. I think they could have made it more obvious on that TV show. Also, a lot of that TV show seems fake and set up. So,
of course, it's complete. Yes, people dressing up as superheroes to do superhero stuff in real world. I think that's fake.
No, they're. I don't know if did you ever actually see the show?
It's a reality show, right? That he's in.
Yeah, it's a reality show. None of them actually have superpowers. It's all made up.
I
But
know.
what I mean is like
Sure.
the storylines and everything. Like one
Of
of them
course.
is like literally trying to be a superhero, but he's like got the mannerisms, the outfit, and like the attitude of a supervillain. So obviously, when he gets voted off, he becomes a supervillain in the storyline of the show. And a
Yeah.
bunch of these people are so fucking stupid that I feel like they're just actors portraying characters in a show. So I don't know. If not for the fact that the real world drama of the reward of the show being that you got a role in a sci-fi original movie afterwards, and that the drama of that guy who won only shows up for like I think 30 seconds in a sci-fi original movie. I don't know. It feels like the fact that there was drama about that means that it wasn't fake, but it feels so fake when you watch the show.
Anyway, yeah, that's
Sorry, some of these pauses are me just correcting my jaw. So if you see me doing this, it's me just stretching my jaw out, and I don't want it to be shown on camera. I'm not like I'm not yawning constantly. If you all thought that this was what that was, I feel like this episode also forgot about Minovsky particles. His Zaku shouldn't be signaling anyone that he's there, especially if it's visually hidden. The whole conceit that we've been sold on so far was that mobile suits are essentially hidden from scanners and have to be fought on a sight line. When Amuro approached the island, his scanners only picked up the Federation aircraft. I mean, the Zaku was hidden in a cave behind a waterfall before, so how does tossing it into the ocean change about people coming for him?
I mean, the thing about Minuscule particles is that, well, it's like it's jamming basically, and so you can't pinpoint
It's
the
not.
source of jamming.
I mean, it's not just jamming though. The particles themselves can be detected. So anybody flying by would say, "Oh, there's a large amount of Minovsky particles around here."
Yeah, you can
Thank God
detect
that there's
jamming too.
only. I'm saying that's what. So I'm about to say that's what I'm saying for the fifth time. That is what I am trying to indicate, is the fact that you can detect Minovsky particles, and there are only so many things that produce Minovsky particles. They are not a natural thing. So if you're flying around and, oh, there's Minovsky particles over there, I don't see anything, but obviously I'm now attracted to find out where those are coming from, especially given that we're on a war zone and this is Zeon territory. But more so, I mean, that's what I started with, but obviously the second thing is that they're detecting that there's a Zaku on the island to come attack it, all of the Zeon forces that come later, and it's hidden inside of a cave behind a waterfall. It feels like throwing it into the ocean, it's still going to be detected.
I mean, I want to say, well, if it's turned off and the Minuscule particles, you know, count goes down and it's not visible and it's not emitting any heat, blah blah blah. But at the end of the day, they just needed that guy to show up, so they're gonna have to fight, basically.
Conceivably, it was off when it was in the cave behind the waterfall.
Yeah, so there shouldn't be any way of spotting it.
Unless the implication is that Minovsky particles take a very long time to decay.
True.
That maybe he did get into, well, he got into a fight with Amuro, regardless of what he did with the aircraft people. Maybe they did crash, maybe they didn't, we don't know. But that was like a day and a half, maybe 2 days, since he got into a fight with Amuro, implying that either they detect the Minovsky particles at long range, or they were nearby and they just didn't go away.
But also conveniently, you have, well, I mean, yes, it's a reconnaissance aircraft, so I guess it could detect at long range. But conveniently also went and picked up a Saku that was just riding the thing, right? So they could drop it, so they could.
Well, I was indicating more towards the fact that wherever it came from detected it. Maybe it was like an aircraft carrier or whatever, a GAW, something.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was just like, well, I didn't think it went back for a Zaku. I think it already had the Zaku, whatever it was doing. Because it was so, what we talked about before, it's holding a gun in one hand and the thing in the other. So conceivably just a couple of fingers of slippage and you've already killed the pilot of the recon craft and the Zaku falls into the ocean.
Yeah.
One last thing about the Doan's Island episode. It feels like they didn't know where the show was going, or that the toy makers forced them to make this episode. Doan immediately goes to Mobile Suit Martial Arts in his retort when Amuro mentions that he has no weapons. But the Zaku attacking them, the one actively holding a gun that shot at Amuro moments before, leaps into the air to do a jump kick at the Gundam. Then, after a moment's conversation, jump kicks at Doan as well. It's only after unsuccessfully jump kicking twice that it shoots its gun again, despite the fact that it had to run into melee twice to do its 2 failed attacks. It's such a stupid move that I have to believe that some toy manufacturer was pushing for a kicking Zaku toy model. I mean, it makes perfect sense to Doan's backstory for him to do it, but the Zaku holding a gun?
Well, I mean, this this show was made by Bandai. They were the people who push for the. I mean, there were people who financed the show. They wanted the toys, right? So maybe they wanted a real karate
Kung Fu
action
Kick
toy,
Gundam?
kung fu kick Gundam or something. Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Also, the fact that Doan is like, I'm all about mobile suit martial arts, and then the random Zaku guy comes in.
He's also all about.
Yeah. And we haven't seen that before, I don't feel like. And then suddenly they're all doing it. So I expect that
Well,
they just teach Mobile Suit
there was a
martial
fight.
arts in the Xeon academies now.
I mean, Rambo Ra was pretty nifty in
He's also
martial
equipped
arts.
with a melee weapon.
Yeah.
I don't know that he's pretty nifty with martial arts. He's just like doing basic like grips and stuff. But he's also
And kicks
equipped with a
and
whip. Yeah, well, I mean,
yeah.
when it's like I'd expect the guys with the heat axes to start doing like not martial arts, but melee moves. This
Yeah.
guy is holding a gun and jump kicking. It's like pull the trigger while you're jump kicking at least.
Yeah.
So White Base came down on Earth in what we guessed, being Griffin, California, and then headed for Jabaro in Venezuela. But due to constant Xeon interference, they ended up waylaid in the Americas, only to then be turned around on Federation orders to reconvene with the gathering European forces. And instead of crossing the Atlantic, they turned all the way around, because I'm going to assume that Doan's Island was somewhere in the Pacific. Because Sayla's agony took place in Central Asia. At this point, for people who were so spaceborne and uneducated about Earth as to think lightning was an enemy weapon, they've seen more of the planet than the vast majority of people from it.
True. Yeah. Again, that feels like it feels like a delaying tactic. We could go through the Atlantic and just get to the point, but we're gonna take the long way around to
Well,
Xeon territory, no less, to get there.
I think this note also denotes the fact that I may have not picked up on the fact that they were given orders to pick up refugees in that direction, because obviously I don't note it here in this.
Still, I mean, also if it's the warship, they dropped off refugees, and now you told them to pick up more refugees. It's like, why do you want to saddle them with more refugees?
Well, to be fair, they dropped off refugees in Federation territory.
What? Yeah.
So
Near Federation territory.
Close enough.
Yeah.
Real short note here. By the way, they were eating hamburgers for breakfast.
What do you have?
Well, me and Griff were had a little debate about if those were hamburgers or not, and then they referred to them as hamburgers. So
Hamburger helper.
Well, relatively unsalted hamburgers.
Yeah, well, exactly. Hamburger helper.
So, on top of the antagonism between McQueeve and Dozel from before, we now have a mystery sentence from McQueeve. Where McQueeve says he doesn't want Dozel to find out about the truth of the mines he discovered. We already know that the Federation considers those mines to be the turning point of the Xeon War effort, so I'd assume it's either some mysterious mineral deposit they found, or the secret is that the mines are already dry and that he's been hiding that fact from everyone.
Making the whole occupation of the area pointless.
I don't know why I would say the second half. I think it's just a trope that happens to be a thing or I think it might have been a big thing in an anime I was watching at the time. That a very rich nation, which is known to be rich for its mines. Actually, that might have been I know I'm doubling down 3 or 4 times back now. There was also a big point in Game of Thrones, that I remember it. I think it was also just a thing in an anime I saw at the time. That the nation known for being rich because of its mines, the mines are actually dry, and they're now actually just living off of what everybody thinks that they're rich, even though they have no real source of money anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously the first half, my mind obviously goes to moon metal, Gundanium. The whole Sayla piloting thing. Oh, here's a problem. I'm going to say you had said, and I'm referring to Griffin, obviously. You had said she mentioned that she had said something about women piloting just as good as men do. But she literally just walks off the bridge without a word to anyone and gets in the hangar before Amuro. The only thing to come off that interaction is this is the second appearance of Job John that I can remember. The guy that says Sayla claimed to have special orders. Also, earlier in the episode, Amuro was working on some sort of part for the Gundam, and told Fra that it would take a long time to finish, which now puts doubt into my mind as to whether Sayla was piloting a fully working Gundam or not.
I think everybody's gotten training in simulations, but only Amuro's the one that has the experience. So I think part of the reason why she didn't do so well is because she doesn't have the experience, right?
Well, we haven't seen the simulator in this show.
Yeah. Not yet.
Well, that's the thing. I'll say it here, it doesn't matter. Seed has a simulator. You see the simulator. I don't remember when it comes up. I haven't seen a simulator here, and nobody's mentioned a simulator. Sorry, more references to Griffin. To the previous point, counter to your anti-misogyny reasoning for Sayla taking the Gundam, which I guess isn't horrible. Anti-misogyny is never horrible. It's anti-misogyny. She does mutter to herself early in the episode that there was only one vehicle heading for their direction, and then in the Gundam, she says that she has to make contact with just one Zeon soldier, which then continues to the end of the episode, where she is oddly agreeable to being locked up, because it then gives her a chance to speak to Kuzan. It's essentially a storyline that starts from nowhere, since Sayla hasn't seen Char since Side 7, and we haven't seen Char in 5 episodes. It seems like the misogyny thing was just an excuse she came up with after the fact.
Again, I mean, I like that Sayla's being proactive, but I wish they set it up a little earlier, right? Because you have this thing in the first episode where, Char Longlegs kicks the gun out of her hands, and then they're like, "Oh, she's too weak to be Astoria, and he could be my brother." And she kind of thinks. I think there's a couple of times where Char thinks about her, but there's no times I can remember as Sayla goes like, "My brother."
Well,
Like,
at best, it's set up by Origin, in that after the fact, she keeps getting contacted by things that have relationship to Char. Tachi shows up. I think your brother's still alive. And then Char lands on top of Texas during the whole riot thing, and she looks up and thinks it might be him, because I think Tachi said something about a red mobile suit. So it sets it up there for her to be thinking about him, I guess, with the knowledge that the original show doesn't have her actively getting those scenes. So this is them setting that up then, assuming that you are going to watch this in the order that we're watching it. That's the element of this that I think I appreciate the most, is that the way that we're watching it sets those things up, I feel like. Because in the order that we're watching it, she's had all these thoughts about Char already. So Char, in our watching order, is the one catching up with thinking about his sister.
Yeah. But you would still want at least a couple of things. Because that works today for us, but it doesn't work in 1979 because
in 1979, you would not even actually think that maybe these two people are the same or put together that they are related.
Except for what the show tells you, right? That they could be brothers.
Well, no, I mean, at this point, siblings. It would just be easy to think that, Char has a dead sister that looks like Sayla.
That too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We know because we saw it, but back in 1979, anything could have been possible. Fucking anime, man. It's weird.
The first time we have he looks like somebody else. And it's like, that narrator, that guy looks like nobody she knows that ever would ever know. Shut up, Misa.
Oh, yeah, Ryber to Kaifun.
Yeah.
Alright, so now we have 2 weapons that can rip through a Gundam with apparent ease. Super Napalm and a Goof Whip. Speaking of weapons, here's another you laughed. Yeah, lessons. You laughed at the gun cannon having to go on all fours in order to shoot. Probably is true, actually. You probably did laugh. But the scenes right before it were doing a great job of show don't tell, rather, why. The cannons on it have massive recoil, enough that Amuro went sliding a good ways back when he fired them on the sand, and in the air they propelled him backwards. I guess it also goes to show how skilled Kai has gotten at the gun tank, as we never see him having that problem. I said gun tank, but clearly I must have meant gun cannon there.
I mean, the gun tank also has massive shoulder cannons, but it has threads. It usually doesn't jump.
Well, it's
It
also
can
usually
levitate.
Kai is the one that's in the gun cannon, so that's what I
Yeah.
probably meant. Something has to be said about Mirai, by the way. At some point, she took over as second in command. Last episode, she just declares that she's launching White Base at the enemy, and then when Sayla comes back, she decides the punishment to give her. Bright never even weighs in on it. Maybe it's the relationship I suspected her and Bright of having before, which I don't think I've actually mentioned in any comment. I must have just said that during an episode and never wrote it down. So yeah, I think Mirai and Bright are having a relationship. But it
Oh
just
yeah.
seems like she has command, as not even Ryu has hesitated when she said it.
Well, I mean, there's the one time when he's. I mean, it can be seen as subtle, but the thing about subtlety is that either you see it or you don't, right?
Well, I already
When
made
he's
that
taking.
note about Mirai coming in to comfort Bright when he had to have time alone. So
Yeah, so he's taking his shirt and he's coming in and he's like, "Oh, hey, come in." Like he doesn't get faced. He only puts his shirt back on because the alarm goes off. Otherwise, it's like, oh, you know.
yeah, no, like I said, it must have been something I said during an episode because it never made its way into the thoughts section. Because all I've done is repeat all my previous thoughts. After here on after, it's going to be all new thoughts. But yeah, no, I mean I had the previous one again, as I just mentioned, about her coming into the room to help comfort him when he was going to take time off after yelling at the kids for vacuuming the bridge. Which, by the way,
Yeah.
bridge has solid, smooth floors. The broom would do just as
So
well,
true, but
or a
you know,
mop.
don't want people slipping and sliding, I suppose.
Well, they won't, because they're going to be sitting down doing a silent protest, which apparently
Okay.
you hate.
I mean, I hate the fact that they're in the bridge doing it, but yeah, sure. Kind of dumb. In the middle of combat, it's like, people, we're trying to save your fucking lives. What the
Yep.
fuck's wrong with you?
So once again, always remember that lesson sides with the military and outside with the people.
I side with people who are smart.
Yeah,
Except for kids who get it.
because dumb people don't deserve to live. That's why they put the warning labels on things. Lessons is anti-warning label.
I didn't say any of that.
It's the implication. You just got to read the
Wow.
implication all the way through.
Sure. Damn, that's a mile up and
All right, last thought here. I'll appreciate it. I say that, and the first words on this last thought are last thought. That struck me. It's kind of odd that Fra Bao gets called by her full name no matter who is saying it. I wonder what the causes of that. Like, is it a respect or disrespect thing? Is it the opposite of a Madonna-like name? Instead of being well known by one name, she's known for two.
I think it might be she knows. I mean, if that's the name that they used to call her in school back in Origins, and it's a name they keep repeating, then everybody picks her up on that, right?
Well, nobody calls
Like
her just Fra, or nobody calls her just Bao. Everyone calls her
yeah,
Fra
so
Bao. Like, not just the people who knew her from before. Everyone calls her Fra
yeah,
Bao.
because again, if when you're presented with somebody and that's the name they use, you tend to pick it up and go like, oh, so that's the name you use. Everybody does it. Like, okay,
I
I
didn't
have two
start
names.
calling you Lessons because other people called you Lessons, because your name is Lessons Learned or what, right? I could have just said Lessons Learned at some point, but no, I'm lazy. You're Lessons. That's half the
I
wordage.
mean, let me give you an example. Happens a lot, but parents do this. My mom does it all the time. I have two names, right? So I prefer my first name, but then she almost always calls me by my second name. So when I go visit her, all her neighbors know me by that second name because that's the only second name that that's the only name they heard she using, right? So even when I use my first name, it's like, oh, but you're this person. Like, yeah, but
I don't feel like that
that's
applies,
something.
though, because that is just local people calling you what you're called locally, right? Which is also half of your name, I'm assuming, unless you're including like your
Yeah,
middle name or whatever. But
half a name, yeah.
yeah, That would be different because that would still make sense to me. That's why I said specifically no one calls her just Frau and nobody calls her just Bo. It's always Frau Bo. As though, because your implication would be everyone thinks it's one word. And everyone thinks they're calling her Frau Bo as one word. Like some sort of weird French name. Like the apostrophe in the middle or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're all calling her by her full name, 2 words. Like, what's gonna happen if she's in a shootout? Frau Bo, shoot over there!
I guess it will.
I mean, granted, they're like monosyllabic. Blah. You know what I'm trying to say. My brain knows what I'm trying to say. My tongue's figuring it out. It's just weird. Like I say, I'm pointing it out because it's weird. Well, I guess the only thing left is the board. The fully laid out has to be changed for the future board, where we added the Doan kids and Doan himself. Obviously, a guy who attacks the island unnamed, so no appearance here. I don't remember if the magician was there last time. What was the episode after Doan's episode?
That was Silas.
Oh, that's right. That's why Kozin has the red outline over here because he's captured, and that was what I determined back then to represent being captured.
Now, one of these kids has a very unfortunate name.
Come?
Yeah.
Well, see, I didn't remember all the kids' names, so I was like, okay, one of these names is going to mean something in Spanish or something. It's like, oh, no, never mind. Come with his mouth wide open.
That I did not say that. I did.
No, you just brought attention to it. That's all.
Oh boy.
But yeah, we got Kozan over here who's captured, the magician that Giel hates.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anything else actually changes here because it's just those new characters over there and the magician. Also means I'm going to have to go back now and in the future have to figure out all the characters from every episode going forwards again. That was the one benefit of having to start over, was that I have all these characters set up already. But now, also the layout. Because obviously you've already seen my work on Macross, where I just put everybody into their shows and then have like the continuation line. So I could build like a tower of Gundam if I'd wanted. But this is the old layout, where things are just kind of haphazard. I think it's supposed to be more Federation on the right and more Zeon on the left. Ironic, if you think about it too hard.
Yeah. Maqueef.
Nope, that's not something you can actually do, Lessons. Biologically unable. All right.
You know what? Oh no, yeah, no.
Well, you want to continue that thought?
No, I'm going to close that window and leave it at be.
No, not if you're doing that in your room. Anyway, I guess we should go ahead and move on into it.
But before we get started,
make sure that you hit the like button,
hit that subscribe button,
comment down below to feed that algorithm.
On top of all that, if you want to watch more shows like this,
unfiltered,
uncensored,
and uncut,
as well as some early access stuff,
you can check it out over on the Patreon.
It's just $5 a month, but hey, no pressure.
There's zero pressure in order to do that. It's just a little bit of extra support, and it would be greatly appreciated.
I do have to wonder if we'll ever get another opening for Gundam.
No, I don't think so. Remember, this is 1970s. They gotta save on the budget.
You okay?
No, I'm thinking about what it's like, because they will change the intro. They have changed the intro, the intro narrative, but not the intro itself.
Yeah, but just a passing thought that I have to give everything. Also, how hard do you think it is to pilot the core fighter in transformation mode? because you're going from flying straight to the thing folding up, so your perspective is now center of gravity is even just now moving straight down, but you've still got to get yourself into the top and the bottom.
I mean, you fly like this, then it goes like this. So you're like here. No, actually, what happens?
No, it folds downwards, so you're actually going from flying straight to flying at a right angle to what you were doing before.
Yeah, but I think by that time the controls change and the seat has to shift as well. Otherwise, you will be looking down when you're,
That's what I'm constantly indicating. I'm constantly indicating.
That's not what happened. But that's not what.
Okay, reminder to self to change the audio to Japanese. Wait, we're doing it again?
Yeah.
I'm glad I mocked it for being so stupid that we're doing it again.
少年たちは訓練を続けながら中央アジアへと進んでいた。サイドセブン以来、
Shown on screen, Central Asia. Look, I have less of a problem about doing it that way if they did it in space, because it would just be floating around you. Man, Central Asia's got hit hard.
How many central plains, I suppose? The desert, perhaps?
Well, I mean, I did get hit by Operation British. Okay, I thought he was looking at Mirai for a second. So he's studying the goof?
Yeah, the battle with the goof, yeah.
Yeah.
And making a simulation out of it.
Who was taking that video, though? Because he simulated he simulated the Gundam getting punched in the gut, and it's like, the Gundam didn't record that. The camera came from outside.
It could be the white base.
その数字とガンダムの性能を組み合わせて今より正確な戦闘のパターンを作れないか試しているんです。
けどよ、捕虜の言ってたグフって新型のモビルスーツにはどうにもなるまい？
ザクの性能より 20% 増しでやってます。
ほう、さすがアムロ君ね。変わろうか。
ありがとう。頼むわね。アムロも寝てちょうだい。
I was about to say straight into the ground, but they're already on the ground, so never mind.
どうブライト。
また若すぎる女兵士かよ。この船の責任者が私だということを認めてくれなくてね。コズン・グラハム少尉、ランバラルのギャロップとかいうのどこにあるの？将校には将校の扱い方があるのは知ってるだろう。南極条約は調べましたよ、コズン少尉。マクベの鉱山のこと話してくれませんか？そう簡単に喋るわけにはいかんよ。
Oh, still interrogating him, I suppose.
Well, yeah. Was she staying with Fra? Oh, staying with Mirai. But Fra's been the one taking care of the kids.
Oh. Yeah, this is not seed.
キッカー、水道の取っ手はどうしたんだ？洗面器の中。
She's so cute.
But also, what's stopping up the drain? Because sinks are designed to not overflow in this kind of scenario.
いえ、ちゃんと直してもらわないといけないと思います。じゃあ僕これで。
Just a little bit more to make Fra jealous.
And he came out of that very wet.
このザクトってかなり使い込んであるやつだな。クランプ、大丈夫なのか？はい。
Oh, clamp on the ground.
いいようです。
関節部分は新しいのに変えてありますし。
ファットアンクルは機関していい。ご苦労。
Fat Uncle.
その後の木馬の動きはどうなっている？
I like the base has a little canopy so they can walk under it, not get sun.
不服なのか？お前の言う通り。
Like some kind of 1960s hotel.
Their jackets are like fucking camouflage in the night. It's the same color as the sky.
What is with Japanese shows and 2 rank promotions?
お前のためでもある。ザビ家により近い生活ができる。
I don't think she wants to.
見ていろ。
信じております。
I mean, unless she wants to get like revenge herself, so she needs the promotion to do a thing.
素人どもめ、ろくな身体検査もし
Also, you'll get a 2 rank promotion and be exactly the same rank you were before. I'm glad they searched you.
I mean, that's what he said. They did a poor search.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. The tooth thing, maybe not so much, but the cord wrapped around your dick, maybe they should have found.
お前、ジオンの人間だな。一緒に逃げるなら連れてってやってもいいんだぞ。
勘違いなさってるようね。脱走するなら人を呼びますよ。
何？
誰か、捕虜が逃げます。誰か。
こいつ。
誰か、来て。捕虜が脱走します。誰か。
I'm surprised he didn't like try to punch her face through the hole.
Yeah. Like he didn't have any time. I'm not wasting my time punching this girl. I need to run.
I'm actually more surprised she actually did call for help, because I would have thought, hey, can you pass some messages to Char for me? Would have been her move.
Yeah, but I don't think she doesn't trust him to, remember that both of them are being hunted, so that'd be too risky.
Depends on what she cares about more.
Amuro, Gundam を発進させろ。
Apparently we're at a war with Pillbox Island.
空中乾燥もありえます。ブライトさん、ガンペリーの方を用意しておいてください。
了解。空中乾燥。アムロ、どういうことだ？
That really stupid thing that a bunch of people just commented about.
アムロ、本当にいいのかい？ブライトさんに叱られるぞ。大丈夫。ブライトさんを説得する自信はある。発進するぞ。いいな。
There's one thing Mr. Bright's been really good about, is understanding things when I talk to him about them.
ガンタンク発進しました。ハヤトとアムロです。
何？竜じゃないのか？どういうわけだ？ブライト、竜、どこにいるんだ？セーラーが教えてくれた。捕虜が脱走をした。何？セーラーに捕虜を探させます。これはガンタンクで。ガンタンクが出動した。
Conceivably, if this guy has any thought in his brain, he could try to steal the Gundam, yeah, which we've just left aboard.
Oh, cameras in the 1970s.
本体と連絡をつけることを考えるはずだわ。
Guess he had another tooth to rip out.
ムスタングッズ、こちらコズン、木馬より発進。あ、ここでありましたか。コズンから入電です。何？コズンからだと？ガンダム、ガンタンク、ガンキャノンの3つのタイプが存在する。木馬にはこいつが各1機ずつしかない。戦闘機の存在は不明だが。
I mean, conceivably, they have 3 fighters, don't they?
Yeah, 3 core fighters.
Yeah. Gotta have one for each of the Gundam things.
テレビ回線が切られています。通信のマスター回路を切れ。はい。
Yeah, let's hope this Gundam doesn't have an accident.
ブライト、どの程度の情報が漏れたと思って。
Didn't even need 6-foot legs to stop that
正
one.
面の敵もそうだけど、これであのランバラルのグフ部隊を呼び込んだようね。
右に来るぞ、ハヤト。 見つけてる。いいぞ隼人。この程度の地上
Damn it, why didn't we have faster missiles?
十分に対抗できる。傭兵の問題はまだブライトさんには分かりゃしない。何でもかんでもガンダムで戦わせればいいってものじゃない。
A lesson future Gundams would never learn.
幕部大佐からは、ドッブを援護に出してくれたそうです。その後の連絡は取れません。どういうつもりだ。戦略的に大した意味のないこんな鉱山を無気に攻撃してくるとは。少尉、何か
No
ラン
strategic
バラル
value.
のガロップが応援してくれるそうです。ランバラル
So possibly not the mines that McQueen was talking about before, or the indication that the mines are empty.
よーし、隼人いいぞ。敵の基地を黙らせるのも時間の問題だ。
I mean, conceivably, they had to get the material that they made the Gundam with from somewhere.
Yeah.
It's possible that the mines that they took are the mines that they used
Oh,
the
so
Gundam
it's
material from.
McQueen and Rumble Round the same.
うまく逃げおせてくれよ。
Well, now that you've said that, I don't think he will. Well, you don't foreshadow that for no reason.
Yeah, I mean, death flag. Oh, here's your death flag for today. Yeah.
来るぞ来るぞ。防衛攻撃いけハロ。
The cartoonish eyeballs didn't line up with his head when he felt it.
Send more. Do you have? I guess.
Oh, we've already set up we could take this guy out with banana peels now.
何？捕虜の言っていたギャロップだな。
捕虜はセイラが何とかしてくれるはずよ。竜とカイを、それにアムロをガンダムに乾燥させて。
竜、カイ、聞こえるか？敵の支援部隊が現れた。よーし、発進。
Don't worry about the massive Xeon prisoner. Sayla can take care of him. Well, thank God this guy isn't like sabotaging the ship like I mentioned the other with the TNG episode.
いいぞ、バランス良好だ。着地する。
見えてきたぞ、木馬め。
支援のドップの変態です。
Oh, I see it now.
今度こそという言葉を。
Oh, the Seed episode, the Seed movie compilation we just watched. I see what's happening. Well, that's sad. Now that I know how this is happening.
工夫が3機あればとは思うがな。コズンが脱出できたら救助してやってくれ。
もちろんです。あなた。
Conversely, I would like to see Ramba in a Zoid.
That would be cool.
That's what the Buseis or whatever they're called reminded me of, is the just Zoids.
ステッチ、遅れるなよ。発進だ。
アムロ、ドップだ。左旋回。ドップの5機や6機。
アムロ、聞こえるか？
何ですか、ブライトさん。
ガンキャノンとコーファイターがカバーしてる間に交代しろ。ガンダムに完走するんだ。
しかし。隼人、よく狙え。このガンタンクの性能ならドップなんか。
Yeah, I mean, Bright might not know tactics, as you said, but you don't know the overall situation is either.
Yeah.
ザク、新型のモビルスーツもグーって言ってたな。あの捕虜。隼人、行け。
The prisoner called it a goof.
ザクめ、計算より動きが速いぞ。
アムロ、戻れ。
隼人、交代する。動いてる相手にガンタンクは不利だ。
Technically, if you were playing this in like Gundam Evolution or something,
Yeah.
you'd fire the cannons to make you move backwards faster.
冗談じゃないぜ。ホワイトベース前進してくれ。ガンキャノンだけじゃ。
了解した。未来、ホワイトベース突撃だ。
はい。
左、ギャロップを近づけさせるなよ。アムロ、聞こえるか？ハッチ開くぞ。交代しろ。
Wait, does that make Mirai the Flay of Original Gundam?
さえあれば。
Oh, thank God we had that in the corridor.
セイラさん、捕虜は。
このエアロックの中、外に逃げられてしまう。
Okay, never mind. That's the corridor.
拳銃で開くほどキャッチじゃなかろう。
Thank God for Federation engineering.
Wow, a bazooka.
These two are fucking dead.
Yeah.
One, gonna kill Sayla with the blowback. Two, you're just gonna get killed.
セイラさん。
気にすることはないわ。私たちだっていつああなるか。
Oh, also that was your demolitions expert guy who did that, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah, never heard of a backblast? It's like they should both be dead.
Also, we didn't actually see that he died.
セイラさん。
Well,
They're indicating that he flew out there, but it didn't seem like that thing was.
ripped off.
Well, I didn't see
Yeah, it
that.
got ripped off. it got ripped
I see
off.
his clothes got ripped up, but it looked like he was still holding it.
Yeah, he was holding it, but the wings just got ripped off, like so he just fell to
I've
his
seen
death.
way too much
I mean,
Iron Man to not think that he couldn't have done something there.
Yeah, he could still be alive. I mean, I'm not saying, but
Well, as I'm saying, they didn't indicate like a poof or something, like he hit the ground. Also, how many episodes have we shown somebody ripping their wing into like shit and still getting away? Rambo's edging me. It's gonna explode, man. So 20% better Gundam versus the Goof.
ダメだ。コンピューターのパターンだけでは追いつかない。データが甘いのか。
Cool shot. You know, surrounded by the cannons of the pillbox. I just also appreciate the Gundam's computer can't keep up, and all the Goof did was take one step forwards.
地上部隊がもう少し持ってくれればなんとかなったものを。議員、ステッチ、交代する。ポイント 3R でギャロップに戻れ。私はガンダムで出動しろと言ったはずだ。敵に力がなかったからいいようなものの。
要塞攻撃にはガンタンクが適していたのは間違いありません。
しかし、ギャロップが来たな。
はい。
兵士には作戦全体を見通すことができるわけないんだ。命令は絶対に守れ。
Yeah, might as well launch with overwhelming force rather than the appropriate force.
わかりますが、僕ら軍人なんですか？
気をつけてくれよ。
はい。
アムロなりに考えてやっているのよ、ブライト。
それを分かってやったら皆殺しに遭う。なあ、リュウ。
ああ、理屈だな。
What are you doing there, man?
失敗か。ザクもグフも操縦者とか環境でまるっきり動きが違っちゃうってことか。根本的にやり直さなくっちゃいけないのか。
It's not much of a learning computer if you have to program it yourself. That's when Amuro died. Just like Frederick the Great.
あんまり賛成できないけど。
ジョブだっていいし、オムルだってシミュレーションやらせてある。
でもね。
キャノンの修理はやってないの？
スペアの腕を工作室で整備中よ。
ああ、どうも未来。
若すぎはしても決して不適格者じゃないわよ。
竜にガンダムを任せてた方がいいと思う
な。ブライトは決めたんでしょ。アムロをガンダムから下ろすって。
ああ、我々は一人の成長を待ってるほどのんびりはしてられないんだからな。
教習所じゃないことは確かだけど。
So are we supposed to see this as a bad thing?
アムロを休ませてってことね。
しかし。
Well, I think they're basically.
私そんな気がするの。
That they're tossing him aside after all he has done for them.
He legit threw a whole fit about not wanting to pilot the Gundam before.
Yeah, but remember, he's a teenager. He sees things through the eyes of a teenager.
Remember when I had to punch you to get you to pilot the Gundam? Congratulations, you're getting what you want.
やめたまえ。帰ってくどくど説明する手間が省けたというものだ。
そうかしら。
Because since then, he hasn't actually expressed a desire to pilot the Gundam. He's just been getting better at it.
ホワイトベースを降りるんだ。元気でな。
何？
船を降りるんだよ。
どうしたの？
First step is I'm going to sit on the bridge and work for the old guys.
必要だって言うんだ。だから船を降りるんだよ。
ちょっと
止めるな。
Also, if the request is for me to view things as a teenager, that's never going to fucking happen. I don't have that mentality anymore. Marker, could you be any further away from the camera? Oh, you jackass. You're not just deserting, you're deserting with the Gundam. I'm not gonna like Amuro. He has the opposite mentality of Kira.
Yeah. Like they're different characters.
No. So I was pausing, hoping something would happen.
一人ガンダムを買ってマクベの鉱山基地を強襲するアムロ。そこで見たザビ家の一頭キシリア・ザビオ。マクベの基地殲滅なるか、アッザムがガンダムを溶かすのか。機動戦士ガンダム次回灼熱のアッザムリーダー。君は生き延びることができるか。
Okay, not the same mine. Also, Adzum? Something we've never mentioned before. No, it's the entire reason Kira fights, and you would have heard this 1,000 times by now if the movie had everything in it, is that's the reason I fight to protect Archangel. My friends are on there. Versus Kira, versus Amuro, who just fucking wanders off and takes the main defense weapon with him. Fuck my friends. I got no friends on that ship. I'm out. What a dick move.
I mean, it is a dick move, but again, I think it's like, oh, you don't need me anymore? Well, fuck you then.
Well, it'd be different if he just, left. Like, even if he took a core fighter, right? That at least they'd have a core fighter to pilot the Gundam with. You know, I'm gonna take a jet and I'm gonna go find a place to live. No, I'm gonna fucking take the supreme weapon of the entire Federation fighting force, and I am just gonna fuck off. Also, it doesn't make much sense, because I assume that the White Base can move faster than the Gundam can. All he did was wander into a dark space. Night vision, anybody? I'm sure that the Gundam has a heat signature, even if it doesn't have a trackable thing due to Minovsky particles. Heat can still follow heat. The thing is literal air vents, because it must put out enough heat that it needs them. We watched the whole episode. You gotta have some thoughts, my man.
It's Zeta rule, because it's, if I say what I want to say.
Well, don't talk about the things that are Theta rule. Talk about the things that just happened.
Well, the thing is that this is a setup for a whole thing that's going to happen in the future.
Right. I'm just trying to set you up to have expectations for the things that you just watched and not the things that you want to talk about. Exercise those bits from your mind for right now, and only refer to the things that happened that you just saw.
Okay, this is very typical of the trope of like, oh, I overheard that conversation. I'm a teenager, so I'm gonna take, some impulsive action because of it, right? That's basically what's going on with Amuro, right? Oh, you don't want me in here anymore? Fine, I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna take my toys with me, right? That's his attitude.
It's
Is it a
not
good attitude?
his. That's
What do you mean it's
that's
not
what
his?
the Gundam's not his. Not
I'm
everything
not
your
saying that it
dad
is.
makes is yours. Your sister isn't yours, Amuro. Whatever the fuck I'm trying to come up with here. Look, I'm using the example, and we've mentioned Southernisms before. So,
Yeah.
my point being is the Gundam's not his. I don't care how much work he's done on it, or who made it, or who designed it. It's not his. You don't get to take the Gundam, Amuro.
And also, he feels like, I mean, Bright has a point. He kind of just go off half cocked. But also, Amuro has a point that the best way to deal with that particular base was with the gun tech. The problem is, and then when he says, "Oh, you got to follow orders and all that," it's like, "Oh, so I'm a soldier now, right?" So
You've been wearing a
basically,
fucking uniform the whole goddamn time, Amuro. You didn't want to fight in the Gundam. I had to hit you multiple times to get in your head. Your girlfriend, maybe, had to, trick you. I had to lure you in with the fact you might get to fight Char. It's the only time you haven't expressed a desire to fight in it ever since. You've just been doing it.
I mean, he's being pretty eager to fight after that, jumping into the Gundam. Oh, I'm gonna go and just
Yeah,
fight.
yeah, but the last thing he said was, I don't want to do this.
But now he wants to figure out how to fight better in the Gundam. He's spending like an episodes like, oh, I'm going to program the Gundam better so it can fight better and do all that.
Yeah, sure, but has he said anything?
What do you mean? Has he said anything? He literally had a
He
conversation
had
with
a whole blowout fight in his room about not wanting to do it and saying, I'm not going to do it anymore. He ended up got forced to do it. And now he's been doing it still, but has he ever expressed in words that he wants to do it still?
I mean, he's been very eager to do it since.
So
and
no. No is your answer. No is the word you're refusing to use here. No, he has not verbally said.
He's been doing it. He's been doing it, right?
On the record, your last opinion given is no, I don't want to do it. That is the last thing on the record.
Actually, he's being very okay. The thing is, you say, "Oh, he said that's the last thing he said," but also it's like, "Oh, we need to deploy Gundam." Yeah, I'm already in the Gundam, ready to go. Right? That shows that he
fucking sleeps in the thing sometimes. It doesn't mean anything. Just being in the Gundam,
and he just jumped into battle with it, right? So,
but yeah, again, he doesn't want to die. Fight or die. It's kind of your answers here. Except for now, you've taken that away from them, taking 1/3 of the fighting force away. Fuck my friends, I guess.
That's my understanding. I'm not saying that he's justifying doing it. I'm just saying that's the logic behind it, so to speak. Would it make sense more?
Sorry, I got a noise coming from this direction, so I'm hoping to block it out. Yeah, no, I'm just saying, literally, that last episode, not the last episode, but, the episode I'm referring to, doesn't have any impact if it didn't have any impact. If the lasting impact of that episode wasn't Amuro doesn't want to pilot the Gundam, now everybody involved thinks that that's his opinion, despite anything else, that maybe he's doing all this other stuff because he was forced to that last time. Again, the last thing on record is the last thing you said. If he didn't write down something, he didn't talk to somebody off screen or whatever, then it is the last thing on record. Because what's the point of that scene other than to imply that he has a real problem with where he's at right now?
I mean, again, I think the show's relying on the fact that he's a teenager, he has confusing emotions and changing emotions. It's like, fine. I mean, he's somebody who's struggling to get control of his life. I think that's what it is. Ultimately, that he
he
did
he stole his dad's car. He Ferris Buellered his way out.
Yeah,
well, it's actually not Ferris Bueller's car; it's his friend's car. Technically,
Yeah.
it equals about the same because it's not his car. I mean, it's not his Gundam; it's the Earth Federation's Gundam, and he's fucked off with it. Which is still, this is a dick move. This is really a big old dick move, and I do not appreciate the character of Amuro for it. There's a difference between doing something that helps you learn to be a better person or to do the right thing versus doing a thing that puts everybody else at danger. There's a reason that they needed the Gundam last fight, because the gun cannon and the gun tank could not handle the goof. They even had to pull in White Base. Like, we need White Base here to help. So now he's taking that away. The goof is still fucking out there.
Maybe he does learn a lesson about, well, friendship and companionship and love.
Who? Matilda ain't here.
Amuro.
Yes, I wasn't making Matilda up because I thought you were talking about Matilda. You said he learns a lesson about love, and I was saying facetiously, Matilda isn't here because that's the love interest that's been thrown to us by Amuro.
That's Amuro's crush.
Yeah, but he has no love interest, though.
I think they've been hinting very hard at Frau.
No, Frau is... Amuro is Frau's love interest. That doesn't make Frau Amuro's love interest. Amuro has been shown nothing in that department. Like, she literally is out there in a coat, like, I seen how you've been looking at Matilda. I'm going to bed. Did you eat your lasagna? You know, there's nothing going on there.
Yeah.
One way, yes. That's why when we do these, like, the boards and everything on, like, Macross, I'll have, like, a green line and it'll be purple in one direction. Because one person is very obviously doing something. The other person could give two shits.
Yeah, I mean...
And Matilda, at least, weirdly flirts back, it feels like. So, maybe she's not interested. Maybe she's just like, this is how I got ahead. You know? Maybe that's what's going on here. But at least something's happening. Amuro's clearly interested. She's flirting back. Frau is clearly interested. Amuro wants to go to bed. By himself. Alright, well... good episode, I felt like, on the on Kuzan's end, because he got out. I enjoy the Prison Break episodes where, like, they have to rely on shit that they brought with them. To do a TNG thing here. You remember that one episode where the two Klingons get put into the brig, and they have, like, all this stuff between, like, the little knickknacks on them that makes, like, one disruptor?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that kind of stuff. Obviously, this was a little to a less extent because I don't know how his dick hair turned into an electrical thing. Well, because obviously this is the tooth is like some sort of explosive, like C4 sort of thing, that with like the right application of electricity detonates. So I understand how that worked, but he like pulls the string out from his pants, and it's like, what make the electrical spark?
I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. That doesn't make any sense unless you're implying he had, like, a battery in his balls or something. Well, he has to be hiding shit somewhere, but all we saw was a string and a tooth. MacGyver at least had to explain what he was doing.
He might have gotten power from an outlet or something, but we don't see that.
Look, I would have accepted it if he had, like, I'm wearing really good woolen socks, and he starts rubbing his feet on the floor. Then his string is attached to his socks. It's like, oh, static electricity. Bam! Something.
Yeah.
Again, I think I already expressed before that I would have liked if he like sabotaged the ship a little bit too. Had like something more than just chasing him around had come from it.
This is this is not a very strong episode for me. It's
Oh, it's stronger than the episodes before it. Stronger than Time Be Still.
True, but I think it's trying to set up a couple of things. And to do cleanup work, like, oh, we captured this guy. Okay, what we're gonna do with him? Well, I guess we're gonna have to have a whole chase sequence, right? Fine, right? It's more like we capture this guy, but the White Base can't transfer him to, because normally it's like, oh, we have a prisoner, we'll just transfer him to the Federation. They take care of him, but we're on our own. So right? It seems more cleanup work and setup than anything else.
I almost can think of who he would be in Seed. Obviously, that's my lessons rule for that. But, yeah, the fact that you're implying that he's dead, which is I don't agree with, because I don't like deaths handled that way. Obviously, it kind of follows the rule: if we don't see him dead, he's not dead.
Yeah.
But it's also could be entirely, well, how could he have survived that? You know, the logic of this is just illogical to think you'd fall from. I don't know how up high exactly they are, because they're doing that thing where the ground is too dark to actually see. But he does kind of go like, woo, real tiny as it gets.
Yeah, and also the fact that I would say he got blasted by a bazooka. But then again, if it were really like an actual bazooka, everybody in that scene would be dead.
Well, he was on the other side of an airlock door, which is typically, thicker because it has to fight the pressure. Now, fight's not the word I'm finding to use, I can't think of it. But also the fact that he was alive when the explosion hit him. I mean, obviously, the realism is that Sayla and, not Omaha. Omar. Sorry, I know it's a OH something. So it's like, but yeah, obviously they would be dead, if not just from like the pressure of the explosion happening around them, like the impact explosion. But we obviously see Kuzan flying forwards, alive and conscious. So we know that whatever damage is done to everything around him, his clothes and whatnot, he was alive when he was falling. And it's anime. So he could have like gone towards the ground and then up a little bit. The whole jump before the elevator hits the ground thing, even though you will die if you try to do that. Because you're still falling with all, despite the fact
inertia.
Despite the fact you also have no indicator of when the elevator's about to hit anyway. You're gonna die in the crouch position waiting to jump. But you're carrying all conservation of momentum, essentially. Alright, well, unless you have any other thoughts?
No.
Alright, I guess that's it for this time. Once again, I have been Theta, this has been Lessons, we've been Stoneface Reactions, and we will catch you next time. Bye-bye.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching another Stoneface Reactions. If you have an idea of another video we could go ahead and watch, go ahead and put it in the comments down below and we'll add it to the wheel. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe and let us know what you thought about this video, what parts you liked. And until then, we'll see you next time. Is this too goofy?